Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today, I am honored to have Doris Brown and Alice Liu, two environmental and community activists and advocates with the Northeast Action Collective. So let's get started with what is the Northeast Action Collective, Doris?
The Northeast Action Collective is of bilingual BIPOC community. We got together because we were frustrated. It was only 10 of us that began it back in 2018. We were frustrated with the bureaucracies, with the governesses, because we were still flooded historically. So we got together, and like I said, it was 10 of us then. It's almost 5 years later, because in October we'll be 5 years old, and we have over 75 regular members. We have a lot of collaborators now, so yes. And we're never going to give up our fight for equity and for better structure.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And Alice, let me first just tell you that I am impressed that in a organization like this, we have young people, older folks, and so forth getting involved. What got you involved in this project?
Yeah, so I've been with West Street Recovery and the Northeast Action Collective for almost 3 years now. And I first became involved with climate activism and organizing in college. And I had known about West Street Recovery since Hurricane Harvey. I was aware of their efforts to help folks rebuild after Hurricane Harvey, especially people who were denied from government and other forms of assistance. So I was really inspired by their model for community organizing. And I think you're right that one of the most beautiful parts is how intergenerational we are. I'm 24. I think, Doris, how old are you?
73.
Oh,
so you're getting the two ends of the age spectrum right here.
And I think that is wonderful. So, Doris, tell me exactly. I mean, earlier before we got on air, we're talking about that your concern was about the infrastructure, specifically how it's neglected in BIPOC areas. An example from the document that you sent over, I learned something. I didn't realize that 41% or so of our drainage are open ditches, but 80-something% of said ditches occur in BIPOC areas. In other words, in communities of color, which I think right on the bat tells you something about how infrastructure dollars are actually allocated in this city, and likely this is representative around the entire country. Talk to me, Doris.
Yes, that's because we've been marginalized. We've been redlined. We now live in congested areas that have refineries. And I'm going to say this, we feel as though we're sacrifice zones, because everything that will cut off our lifespan because of the hazards and the climate change and different things like this, we lose 24 years of our lifespan, especially with this particular matter. And the fact that in the 5-mile radius of my home, I have 5 cement batches. We have refineries. We have the largest landfill in the world. At night, they burn, and we have methane gas permeating our air. So we have children that are born with asthma that shouldn't be. I don't know. We have historically just been disinvested, even with us paying drainage fee and everything. We still don't get the upkeep nor the maintenance that other areas get. So
that is the reason that you guys formed this group, claim with the expectation that together going to our city council or other governmental agencies, you will be able to at least get noticed. Have you been getting any media attention, let's say, from the major networks in the area, ABC, CBS, NBC, etc.?
Yes, we have, and Channel 26 also. because they are paying attention. We are presenting something, some data and stuff. So we're not only saying this, but we are presenting data. We do research on what we go to City Hall and to the county. We'll be in our way to the state, trying to get some equity. And it does not make any sense that we pay our taxes, we pay our drainage fees, we pay all kinds of taxes, and we still cannot get no relief out here in the Northeast and the Southeast. I mean, it's happening all over to all BIPOC neighborhoods. And it's time for a change. You know, I mean, this has been going on 50, 60 years. How can we never seem to recover from a disaster like everyone else. Before we can recover, it's another one. So it's just compounding on it. It's cascading.
Now, you mentioned something that really hit me earlier when you said you feel like we are being sacrificed. And a lot of people have a tendency to say things like, well, the reason why certain areas don't get the infrastructure that other areas get is maybe the tax base is smaller there. And as opposed to allocating taxes the way it should, meaning in an area, as opposed to, well, if this is a rich area, we give a whole lot of allocation to that rich area. A lot of times that's not done. Now, Alice, how are you approaching, let's say, city council from a demand point of view? What are you demanding of city council? Do you have a list of items that you want them to actually effect now?
Yes, absolutely. So over the past few months, we have gotten together with not just the Northeast Action Collective, but with other community groups and allies across Northeast Houston and across the city. And we've put together 4 demands that we think address a lot of the inequities in our drainage infrastructure system that Doris was talking about. So our demands are to increase the SWAT and local drainage program project funds by $20 million and to make those increases permanent. And this is actually more than doubling the funds for those 2 pots of money. And we've chosen to focus on these 2 pots of money because SWAT allows city councilors to actually implement projects that directly address their constituents' needs. And we're focusing on the local drainage project because—
What is SWAT?
Yes, SWAT is the Stormwater Action Team. So that is a pot of money that is equally divided between city council districts. So we're asking them not only to increase SWAT, but also to increase the local drainage project, because we know that need is not evenly divided between city council districts. So local drainage project allows public works to actually address areas with the most need and areas with the highest social vulnerability. Our other demands are actually to increase funding for public works staff and maintenance. That way, we're increasing their in-house capacity to address the maintenance needs. And finally, we're asking them to make drainage governance more equitable and democratic.
Now, when you say equitable and democratic, earlier I went on a short soapbox where I stated that it seems like wealthier areas get better, let's say, drainage, etc. Is that what? Do you all have that documented, that they actually put more money for drainage in these areas than, let's say, in BIPOC communities? Is that something that's documented? And Doris, do you know that, or?
Well, you can see it. So, I mean, the fact that we're still flooding out here and our drainage dollars are being diverted somewhere else, you can see it anywhere. And I think Alice, did the research team, did they come up with some data on that from the 4 years?
Well, Doris, I think you said it great. When we're talking about these inequities, we know that all levels of government basically are not spending their money to address the areas with the most need. After Hurricane Harvey, I forget the specific numbers, but Northeast Houston has only gotten less than 5 substantial flood mitigation projects, whereas other areas of Houston have gotten 3 to 4 times more. This is something that we see playing out at the city level, at the county level. In 2018, there was a $2.5 billion flood bond. We were the group that was fighting to make sure that equity was actually in that flood bond language. But even once we got the word equity in there, several years later, we found that there was still a 75% shortfall in terms of funding for Halls and Greens bayous, which are the bayous in our areas, whereas wealthier parts of Houston, their projects were almost 100% funded. And at the state level, we have had to file a Title VI because after Hurricane Harvey, there was $4 billion of federal flood mitigation money, and the state gave $0 of that to the city of Houston. And we have successfully filed a Title VI that the HUD is now trying to move to litigation to actually try to redistribute those dollars. So I think it's a great question of how at all levels of government these inequities are stacking up. But I think at the end of the day, Doris said it best, which is we know these inequities exist because when we look at the infrastructure itself and we look at the actual conditions of drainage, and we listen to people who are living in Northeast Houston, we know that they are flooding at a much higher rate than folks in other parts of Houston.
In other words, my eyes are not lying. I know what I see. Well, so let's go into, you gave some points that you gave some asks, or actually not asks, you gave some demands of what you want done, what the North, I forgot the name, North Action, what is the name of the group?
Just call us NAC, the Northeast Action Collective.
That is so much easier than having to remember the long name, right? Now, NAC, what specifically now that you have these demands, where are you going to go from here? I mean, we are giving you coverage on KPFT and other places to make sure that people know this is occurring. Hopefully, people in your area as well. How do you want, or what do you want done, or what do you need done to ensure that more pressure is applied to the particular politicians? Do you have actionable items that you want activists, journalists, etc., to do? You can start, Doris, and then go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Alice.
I'll start us off, and then I'll pass it to you, Doris. But this interview is great timing because we are now in the middle of the budget workshop process, and we're also in the middle of the period where city councilors can submit amendments to actually change the budget. Just yesterday, the mayor released his proposed budget, and we know that there has been some increase in funding in drainage investment for this next fiscal year. So we know that in some sense, we're better off in this budget than we were last year, but we're not exactly sure if that money is actually going towards the pots of money that we're asking them to go towards. Over the next 3 weeks, the budget will be finalized and voted on in June 7th. And what we're asking is if folks are interested in giving public comment at City Council, please reach out to us. Our phone number and email are on our website. And the best way to get in contact is through our Instagram, which our handle is just West Street Recovery. Next Tuesday on May 23rd, we will also be having a press conference and rally at City Hall. And if journalists are interested in covering that, that would be fantastic. Please reach out to us. Email alice@weststreetrecovery.org. But I'll pass it to you, Doris. Doris, do you want to talk a little bit about, earlier you mentioned the diversion of the drainage tax and why this is an issue that we care about?
We care about it because we're studying putting into a system that is not putting back to us. Our money is being taken and building up the affluent areas of town. And this started back in 2015, somewhere along there. So imagine the millions of dollars that could have been helping us, could have been helping the infrastructure and the drainage where we wouldn't flood. And over the years, it hasn't got better; it's only got worse. And we're trying to get an amendment on. We need policy change to stop this because when I look at it, that's it. That's fraud.
Now, Doris, let me ask you about that, right? You said that they're collecting taxes from your district, the drainage taxes in your district, and you're saying those taxes, that money that they're collecting is not re-inputted into your neighborhoods, but actually into neighborhoods in other districts? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, and that's happening all over Houston. Every year, the drainage and sewer tax goes up, but it just does not come back to the neighborhoods. It doesn't come back to BIPOC neighborhoods in a timely manner, nor equitable. It's definitely not equitable. And I think that needs some institutional accountability and some transparency because this is historical. I mean, this has been going on for years. It's time for it to stop.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking it this way, right, is that there's nothing like documentation. And my question is, can your district document that you are putting out more into that? And not that, I mean, that really shouldn't matter, right? We should go where the flood is, wherever it's flooding should be mitigated. But since you are already putting in from a flood prone area, putting in a whole lot of your tax base for those drainage fees, etc. Am I really understanding that you could probably document that you are not equitably getting back what your own neighborhood, and maybe Alice, you have some numbers on that. Can you actually document that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're talking about the diversion of the drainage tax, this is actually something that's like not necessarily being diverted between districts, but the city is overall not spending the entire pot of money that our drainage tax are funding. So the city is overall diverting money that is being paid for drainage and that is supposed to be being paid on drainage according to the vote of City of Houston residents. And they're spending about $22 million of a year of that money, and they're spending it on other city services instead. So Mayor Turner has said, hey, we can't actually stop diverting this money because what would happen to essential services like police, right? And first of all, that is actively violating a city ordinance, and that is actively violating the public will of Houston residents. But also, we think that those priorities, right, prioritizing police over public infrastructure such as drainage, is not actually reflecting the needs of the city of Houston.
I don't think that could be put any better. I mean, that if you're collecting drainage fee and diverting it to police or otherwise, that is I think that should be legal. It's probably not, but I think it should be, and it is simply wrong. All right, let me ask you, because our time is coming up here. Please tell me. I'm going to start with you now, Alice, and then end with Doris. Please tell me what didn't I ask you that I needed to ask you, and let me know anything that you want to put out there that we need to get out there. And also remember to give us your website, etc. So it'll be in the blog as well, but give us your website so that people can hear it on air.
Yeah, fantastic. I just want to end with speaking a little bit about how difficult it has actually been for us to make any difference at all within the budget process. So the NAC as a group has tried to engage with the city budget for three years now. And in the past, when we've tried to engage, we've been told, hey, you're showing up to the wrong workshop. Hey, this is not the right time to speak, or hey, you're too late and that ship has sailed already. So every year we've been getting a little bit better about showing up and being able to apply pressure at the right time and in the right place. But part of our ask is to make the city budget more democratic, because we believe right now, well, a city's budget should reflect its values and should reflect its priorities. And right now, it doesn't reflect the values of the people. Right now, it reflects the values of the special interests. And when people who care deeply in our communities try to show up and we try to say, hey, drainage infrastructure and flood mitigation is a matter of public health, right? That's a matter of public safety. It's a matter of protecting lives, of protecting homes, right? And protecting entire communities. When we show up and we say that message again and again, year after year, right? We've had over 40 people give public comment every single week at City Council over the past 2 months. And we don't know whether or not that's really going to make a change yet. We'll find out over the next 3 weeks. We'll find out by June 7th. But I just wanted to end that infrastructure should be a site of democracy, and it should be a site of public input. And it should be a place where people are able to express our needs and those needs are actually met. So that's our hope for the budgeting process this year. And our website is www.weststreetrecovery.org.
Well, let me tell you, having you on board, Alice, with your passion and it's very, very important. And you all will get things done as you activate more people, no doubt about it. Doris, give me a closer.
We never quit. We're not going to quit. We've been fighting this fight, and we're going to continue until we feel like we're no longer that sacrifice zone. We want equity. We want transparency, and we want to stop flooding. I mean, there's only so many times that you can, bounce back. So we're very resilient people out this way. We have to be, in order to have some quality of life. And that's what it's all about, a different quality of life.
Well, let me give a 30-second sermon, and it goes this way. Earlier this week in one of my shows, somebody said, the government is going to do what the government is going to do. We have no control. That is not true. And you all, Northeast Action Collective, Doris Brown, Alice Liu, you guys disprove what that apathetic young man had to say. And for everybody that's listening to this program right now, I want you guys to stamp those two names in your brains. Two people that decided to go out there and said, nope, it's not about me believing in government. I am the government. We, the people. Sometimes it takes a bit more to get things done, but we are going to get it done.
Exactly.
Alice Liu, Doris Brown, it has been my honor to have both of you on Politics Done Right. You guys represent exactly what being citizens is all about. Thank you so kindly for being on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.